Okay, welcome back for those who get to the audience right now. I've already missed you. And by the way, could you please tell me who are using our service MIU? Please raise your hands. I hope that I will show. Yes, this great guys. Let's applause to those who use our services. Let's applause for those of you who will enter here right now. So please applause who are chilling with us right now. Yeah, it's much better. I'd like to say that you can continue to use MIU service and you can continue to chat with your new friends or new clients or even partners even after the conference. So don't waste your time and use MIU service for your networking. Okay, we're moving forward and I would like to introduce to you next speakers who will share with us overview of startup ecosystem in Baltics. So please welcome Marilyn Luke, Startup Visa Project Manager at Startup Estonia. She has organized 3 successful hackathons in Europe with several counterparts. She has helped to initiate projects with partners in Eastern Europe. Olga Barreta Gonsalves, Chief Startup Instigator and Investment and Development Agency of Latvia. She has more than 8 years of international experience in dynamic startup environment. She has a huge expertise at startups, entrepreneurs, and etc. So please your applause to Marilyn and Olga. Yes, we will start from Olga. So Olga, Marilyn. Marilyn, of course. Marilyn, the floor is yours. Let's go.
Hear me, right? So hi guys, it's good to see you all back from the lunch break. It's good to see so many of you. So as you heard, I'm Marilyn from Startup Estonia. I work with the Estonian Startup Visa, but previously, this is not my first time in Minsk. I was here a year ago in March organizing the Garage 48 game hackathon. Is there anyone who participated at the hackathon? Oh, yay, hi, good to see you. So yeah, my background is in Garage 48. I organized a ton of hackathons in here, Ukraine, Belarus, in Moldova and Georgia. But now, here I am with the Startup Estonia. So, Estonia. You've probably heard of it, it's not that far away. And it is what it says on the slide, it's a modest country. It's very small, as you can see from the numbers, but we do extend beyond our borders. There's only 1.3 million of us, so it's not a huge population. It's also not a huge market. Its area is also really tiny, but we make the most of it. We have wonderful forests and wonderful nature and wonderful cities. But the ICT sector, you can see it's 7% from the GDP, so how do we do it? And I think I'm going to go back to the population and back to the market size. We don't have a market in Estonia. So the ICT and startup businesses know that they have to have a global mindset from day one. So these two guys, you might have heard of them. They are the founders of this little company called TransferWise. Has any of you heard about that? Anyone uses that? And one of the guys in the picture is also one of the first employees of Skype. You might have heard about that as well. So I think in 2003, when Skype was founded, that was the beginning of a really successful startup story of Estonia. So by now, the numbers that you see on the screen are from the end of 2017. So we count to about 600 startups in Estonia and 4,300 new jobs created from this scene. 3/4 of the jobs are in Estonia. 1/4 of them are all over the world, in America, in the Silicon Valley, in New York, in the UK, and all of those countries. What is really important to show is that startups have paid 35 million euros in employment taxes, and the number is growing 30% every year. The amount may seem not a lot, but for a small country like us, it is. And what is great news that our startups have raised over 340 million in the last 10 years, and 90% of them are from foreign funds. So on the screen, you see a little chart where there are blue thingies and then this red line. So the red line shows the number of deals, And as you can see, in 2017, the investments were quite huge into Estonian companies. I have to say that most of it was to TransferWise, but at the same time, you can also see that the number of deals hasn't reduced that much. So what it shows is that Estonian investments are going into early stage startups, and investors are really supporting that. What is also great is that within the last year, we've had new investment funds popping up and a lot of interest from foreign investors. In Estonia, we don't see a speciality or this one thing that Estonian startups do. We like to say we do it all, but I think B2B and software as a service is what we're most successful in. So you can see some of our most successful startups on the screen, but I want to focus on the up and coming. So maybe you've heard about Taxify. I know that it isn't in Minsk, but it's, has anyone heard about it? Raise of hands. Thank you, Sander. So yeah, it's a ride-sharing app that was launched in Estonia, and it's becoming really huge right now. Linguist helps you learn languages. Starship builds delivery robots. They have a collaboration with Domino's Pizza, and they're also really big in the American market as well. So as you can see, Estonians have a variety of startups that they're good at. And now to the ecosystem. This, okay, you can see it a little bit better. This is a chart that shows what kind of organizations support which stage startups in Estonia. What we can say is we have organizations that support all of those stages, but we also have organizations that support each stage separately. So there's a great variety in the organizations. Also, what is really exciting is to see that not only Tallinn and Tartu, the biggest cities in Estonia, are having these organizations pop up, but also Narva and Pärnu, which are the third and fourth biggest cities in Estonia. So the ecosystem is spreading outside of Tallinn, which is really great news for Estonia. So what does Startup Estonia do? What do I do every day with my colleagues? So first of all, our main goal is to create a strong and supportive startup ecosystem. The second thing is that Estonians have to have smart people who create good startups, good, viable startups. The third thing is that funding and smart money is accessible for startups. And the fourth thing, which is something that I deal with every day, is creating friendlier regulations. And one of them is the startup visa. So the Estonian startup visa is a way for non-EU founders to become a part of the Estonian startup scene. It's a fast-track visa for also Estonian startups to bring in employees from these countries. What we consider as a startup is an innovative and repeatable business model and really a global growth potential, because as I said, Estonian startups have to be globally mindseted from day one. It gives you access to the lively, very small but very lively startup ecosystem. And also, what is great is that you become a meaningful part of the ecosystem. One example, every founder who comes to Estonia, we organize meetups for them and we try to bring them together with the right people from the ecosystem, to the right investors, to the right mentors, to the right maybe employees. So a little bit about the numbers. Just as a side note, when it was launched in 2017 in January, we didn't think that we would get more than around 50 applications. And by the end of the year, we had 325 applications from, I think it was 48 countries. And now, today, it's 507 applications from over 50 countries. And the success rate is 43, which means that 43% of the applications are considered by the startup committee, which consists of 7 members from organizations from the Estonian ecosystem. They have said that, yes, it's a startup. And most interests come from Ukraine, India, Russia, and Turkey, but most successful are Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, and Belarus. So we're really glad to be here. And a little bit about the feedback that we've gained, which is really humbling for us because we never thought it was going to be this big. But some of the guys have said that it's like a badge of honor to have the startup visa and to be a part of the startup ecosystem of Estonia. Obviously, for some very pragmatic developers, it is an access to the European market, maybe even for the global market. And some of the foreign founders who we've received are really happy to be a part of the Tallinn or Tartu or Pärnu ecosystem. And I guess some of you said that what's good in the Belarusian ecosystem are the hackathons. So it's a good thing that in less than a month, the Garage 48 will come to Minsk again. So anyone who wants to go to a hackathon and meet new people and try out your ideas, on the 8th to 10th of June, go to Space in Minsk and be a part of it. But if you want to come to Estonia, then already next week, we'll have the largest tech event, Latitude 59. But also in the beginning of 2019, there will be a startup day in Tartu, which is the second biggest city in Estonia, and that's also something that you should be a part of. So if you're interested in the events, if you're interested in what Startup Estonia does, follow us on these pages. Contact me afterwards. I'll be here the whole week. And thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. It was very, very interesting, I guess, for our startuppers, first of all. And now I give the floor to Olga. By the way, you can right now send your questions to our organizer chat, to Marilyn or to Olga, because after Olga's speech, we have some minutes to questions from the audience. So don't waste your time. So please, Olga.
Well, I can't guarantee I will be as equally good with timing as Marilyn, but yeah, if I get my slides, I will try to. Well, I can start even while the slides are appearing on stage. So my name is Olga, and you will see my last name. Please don't really bother to remember that one. People always are confused where I'm from. I'm from Latvia, and actually from Magnetic Latvia. That's our new identity, and Magnetic Latvia is a part of government. It's a government agency, and we operate under the Ministry of Economics. And just before I jump into the whys and hows of our ecosystem, and actually I have a very big advantage because Marilyn covered the topic so well, so I can just, pick the cherries from the cake and tell you what's really, it's important for Latvia in this case. But just a few words about myself and maybe why I'm even here on this stage today. I'm a very nomadic person. I've lived in 5 countries, traveled to more than 50, right now residing back at home in Latvia. But one of those 5 countries was actually, one of them was Belarus. And I spent collectively 2 years in a deep forest in Vitebskaya Oblast. Anyone is from the city, town called Braslav maybe by any chance? Or ever heard of that place? Well, yes, this is where I spent collectively 2 years. Collectively, it's because it's 8 summers, 8 years, full summers, the school break. So, yeah, very nice to be here in a professional capacity. It's my first time, and I hope not the last one. And so then let's jump into why I'm here. And I'm here not to confuse you with this super complicated infographic. The main takeaway from this one actually is that a lot of things are happening in Latvia. There are a lot of numbers, a lot of facts, a lot of names. Just, don't mind, have a look, and I will summarize it for you in the next slide. So what is Latvia about? What do we do? Where are we? How do we communicate about ourselves? So we see, and it's actually the case which applies to Estonia and Lithuania, we are a small country and hence a very good launchpad for early stage startups, right? So it's a good place to come, start, test your idea, and then go global from there. You have no other choice. So altogether, what makes us a good launchpad at the end of the day? And that's infrastructure. Sorry about that. I did not expect the slides would be a little bit compressed, I believe, but I hope you can still read it. So infrastructure, meaning we are in the heart of the Baltics. It's an objective fact. Riga is in the heart. And we have a very good airport, very good connections to everywhere in the world. Well, not everywhere, but growing by day. And Wi-Fi in the top 5 in Europe, perhaps top 10, 15 in the world, all of those things. And then, of course, we are multilingual. We speak at least 3 languages. Everybody knows that. We speak very good Russian, English, Latvian, and other languages as well are getting there. We have a very low cost of doing business, and at the same time, very high quality of life. So having lived and traveled to many countries, I can tell that €1 or $1 can buy just so much more in the Baltics than anywhere else. And then we like to think and talk about ourselves as a smart country, or country which is getting there, modernized, smart, but also very livable. That's why, you know, when sometimes I'm being asked if Latvia is going to introduce e-residency, I tend to joke that actually we don't need that because we like to see people, actual people in the country, you know. But yeah, not so many people maybe appreciate the joke. And then we are a very vibrant community. The startup community is very diverse, very dynamic, by gender, by age, by nationality, you name it. And we like to have a lot of fun. So at our major events, we have Tech Chill and Digital Freedom Festival. I'm sure some of them might have heard about them. We have really good fun there. And then, yes, the main areas or verticals, because everybody is asking, what do you specialize really? And then yes, fintech, historically. Baltics has been just really good in fintech historically. Drones might be a surprise, but we have a very strong cluster of drones, also acknowledged internationally, and deep tech. And this is our new baby from the government side as well. And yeah, we just like science-based startups a lot, and we try to help them. And then, being part of government, again, I have to mention that the government is very lenient and supportive towards startups, and we have, at the moment, a lot of public money and other cool stuff, which I will talk about in brief. So yes, now let's zoom into the Latvian government case. Me being government, well, part of government, I would like to tell you how we came, what I say, from 0 to hero in 2 years, because if you look back 2 years ago, the government just did not really understand what is startups, what do they need, what do they want. And in 2 years, with the help of different people from the ecosystem, the government got there. And today what we can see is a comprehensive, what we call G Welcome Pack. Well, I call it G Welcome Pack. So the Welcome Pack by the government, designed by the government for startups. And it's a very comprehensive pack, and appreciating I don't have much time today, I will focus on the 5 points. Those are mentioned here, well, and marked with a yellow star. But yeah, I really encourage you to get to know me better and ask me if you're interested in other things. So startup visa, well, luckily, I don't have to cover it that much. The 3 Baltic countries, indeed, each of them has this program, and ours is quite similar. There are some details, but in essence, the very idea of startup visa, of course, it's quite the same, to bring the talent into the country and let them start their businesses. And then what I would like to maybe, allocate a little bit time, and I see I still have a few minutes to go. It's a very unique thing which happened in Latvia about a year and a half ago, and it's startup law. So it's a dedicated law, which rumors have it is the fastest law ever being written and accepted and approved in Latvia. So it has 3 different perks for startups. So if startup of early stage qualifies according to the startup law definition, then they can get, first of all, very low flat social tax. I know Belarus also has some discussions about introducing the social tax, right? The tax or payment into the social security system. So in the Baltics and in Europe, we tend to have it anyway. So what it means, this perk, is that if you, for instance, are a startup and you hire someone and say you pay this someone 1,500 euros, just an example, on paper, as in gross salary, then the regular Enterprise would pay, you can see, that much of a tax, of social tax per month, and startups are fixed at 302 euros per month per employee. Another thing, that's the second perk of the startup law, is the 0% individual income tax. So again, if we take the same example of the salary 1.5, then yes, regular have to pay, startups, they enjoy a complete 100% waive. And corporate income tax is 0% too, but since January 1, it's 0 for anyone anyways. I know it's also the case of Estonia as well. And the third perk is the co-financing of highly qualified labor, be it local from Latvia or any foreigner who we would like to bring to Latvia. So startups, yeah, just imagine you want a rock star designer, programmer, developer, coder, you name it. So you can bring the person or find the person in the country, and the government will return 45% of the cost of that person to your startup. And then this is probably the sexiest part, and also quite unique, because we were the first, I believe, in the Baltics to get the public fund and infuse it into the startup ecosystem. So what I mean by that, it's mostly EU money, which we got, and through the government systems, we released that to the startup ecosystem. At the moment, 15 million euro were already infused. Well, the fund managers were selected, and right now they're scouting for the best startups, and each of them specialize in different things. And soon this money will be complemented by 60 million euro for the growth stage, so the next stage after acceleration. And then last but not the least, and this is what keeps me busy days and nights in March, April, and May, we are launching a new program for startups. We understand that it's important to attend different events, conferences, and of course, it's all financial costs to startups. So we would like to extend help, and we provide this support to startups. Plus, yes, we also trying to build bridges with Silicon Valley. In this case, we opened our representation office in San Francisco dedicatedly for startups. Plus, and this is probably my personal goal, is, and also as the mighty eagle Peter was just sharing, right, we should look at less obvious geographies. So at the moment, I work towards Asia, and the first result was the memorandum of agreement with South Korea, which we closed just in February, and now we will see what we will do together. Also, I'm looking at Africa, South America. Yeah, you know, everybody wants to go to Silicon Valley, raise funds, and be happy there, but we should also explore other things. Belarus hopefully will be on that map as well. So with this, I would like to thank you, and I would like to thank you again and close the presentation. Please get in touch. And I believe
yeah, thank you very much, Olga. A lot of applause to our beautiful speakers, Olga and Berlin, Startup Estonia and Startup Latvia. All right, so we have a couple questions to you. First question goes to Startup Estonia, to Marilyn. Are you going to have any relations with universities in Belarus? If yes, what are your plans?
Yeah, you can hear me. Not direct relationships at the moment. We always, when we come here, we want to communicate with them. On Friday, I will be at the Belarusian State University giving the same presentation and just introducing that. But if there's anything that we can do, and I know that there will be a roundtable in June together with the Garage 48 Hackathon to just introduce what we've done in Estonia and maybe give our experience to them.
Okay, thank you. One more question to Olga, I guess. What about collaborative robotics in Latvia, Estonia? I think it's both to you, like both Marlon and Olga.
Right. The question is if that vertical is developed, or if we are supporting, or just a general
Need your
comment?
opinion? Yeah, what do you think about collaborative robotics, or who was sending this question? Please, could you just give more tips? What would you need to know?
Is it developed in Estonia and Latvia right now?
Robotics?
Robotics, right. Is it developed?
I may just specify, what do you mean by collaborative robotics?
Robots that will work with people, not this huge robotic like
Not machine to machine, but machine to
So
people.
in Estonia, I think you should stay until the end of today because Sander Gansen will talk about robotics in Estonia. Maybe you've heard of Robotex. So he's sitting right here, so you can ask him later. Yeah, he raised his hand. So yeah, it's very developed in Estonia.
Yes, it's also being developed in Latvia. I would say machine-to-machine communication and learning is perhaps number one. Machine-to-people, I hear about that less. But yeah, if you would like to talk about that more, I just encourage you to approach me and we can find out what exactly you would like to know, because it's such a general topic. But yes, it's definitely going there, and we also have a couple of very successful startups who right now, if I'm not mistaken, just finished their acceleration in London, and this is in the field of, but yes, robotics altogether, not collaborative robotics.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Thank you for your answer. One more question about universities for both of you. What our universities, I mean the Belarusian universities, should do in order to teach and grow startuppers?
That's, you know, a $1 million question. And
It's also the same question in Estonia, and I think in Latvia and all over the world.
Right, so universities should, in my opinion, be very, very attentive to the talent, to scout the ideas, well, first of all, to help them even being born, right? So to motivate, so to create this nice environment and infrastructure for ideas to be born, and then to have a system to develop them, and when the time is right, to give them further for commercialization, to push them into the world, you know what I mean? So that's why the links between the universities or academe and the startup ecosystem, and preferably direct link and not through, you know, other organizations and intermediaries in between is the best. So yes, universities, startup ecosystem working together. Here you have the ideas being born. Here you have them commercialized and accelerated and pushed globally then.
Yeah, because I guess we have a lot of different possibilities to teach how to become a good entrepreneur or startupper. You can even just join such conference as this one, or just go to Europe and talk to other people, learn from them, learn from their experience and from their thoughts, and bet maybe like fuck-ups or some kind of failures, yes.
But from a hackathon background, I always like to say that teach entrepreneurs how to develop things, and
Under
teach
pressure.
and developers how to market things.
Yes,
So that they would both everyone understand what it takes.
Yeah,
to
you're all
build a
welcome
startup.
to take part in our hackathons, which is organized in I'm a Guru. So you are all welcome guests. Please sign up to I'm a Guru and search the dates.
Yes.
And if I may add, another format would be, and we see that a lot in the Baltics, that more or less each university would have their own startup hub or idea lab, or, you know, there are different names to that. But in essence, it's a self-organized student group which, you know, lobby and fight for their space and resources within the university. And it happens so that with time they get exactly that.
Yep.
Sorry, I was putting it down, write it down, your thoughts. Okay, so we don't have any questions to you, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please welcome right now more with your applause, Marina Luke from Startup Estonia and Olga Bareta-Gonsalves from Startup Latvia. Thank you very much for your help. All right, so it's great to see how our ecosystem is growing, right? But of course, it would not be possible because without our success stories, without our startup stars. Such startup stories and success stories as Masquerade, Pandadoc, TrackDoc, Infogram, and iMetro, and others. All the best thing is that their number grows year by year. We're all proud for these talented men and women because they made it. They graduated from top world accelerators, and right now at Venture Day Minsk 2018, we're gonna listen to their cases and experience, discuss with them possible ways to evaluate our ecosystem, our Belarusian startup ecosystem, and how to be growing more. So please welcome our startup stars. Vasily Shenkarenko. In 2015, won first FinTech Means Hackathon in Imaguru. Alumni of prestigious accelerators Boost VC and the legendary Y Combinator. In 2018, Amazon have put Storyline in the official Alexa Partners page. Mikhail Rumyantsov, Friendly Data, alumni of one of the best US accelerators, Starta and 500 Startups, CEO and founder of Friendly Data. And I'm also pleased to present you moderator of this panel, Olga Balakina, former Chief Global Operations and the most significant startup conference in Europe, Slash. Please welcome with your great and warm applause our startup stars.
Hi guys. So I have no idea where they actually found that video of me giving a speech, but it's awesome. I'll need to ask them where that is coming from. So yeah, here I yesterday got all the details about our panel, and apparently I'm interviewing the stars of this startup community. So I will start asking them a few questions, and I would like to start from the personal part. So how about we start from actually Vasily, and I would like to just you to really open up. Who are you? Why are you an entrepreneur? And the rest, please keep it like open and tell them why on earth did you decide to start a company?
That's a really good question. So I'm 22. I was doing startups for about 3 years for now. I was participating in another company before. That company got closed. Then we launched 3 products, and they failed horribly. And yeah, now we are in a company called Storyline, which makes it easy to create apps for Amazon Alexa without writing code. And with this company, we got accepted into Y Combinator. And after Y Combinator, we raised the seed round, and we've been growing 50% months over months for the last 6 months. And the reason I started doing all that is because there is some inner motivation inside of me, and I cannot explain that like exactly, because I just love to create complex systems, and I love to see how those systems operate without me taking part in the operations. I think that's the most interesting, exciting thing about building companies, because companies are like live organisms, and once you create them, they can operate themselves, and that's really cool. And also, when you're building a company, you're going through all these stages of scaling, from 0 people to 10 people to 100 people to 1,000-person company, and then to 10,000-person company. And that's really exciting because your job changes like every 2 to 3 months as the company grows. And that's really interesting.
And Mikhail, tell us, why are you an entrepreneur?
Well, I have an engineering background, but I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when I was like 6 years old, I sold an apple, not a device, but real apple, in the elementary school, and it was my first deal. But for me, entrepreneurship, it's not about selling stuff, it's more about bringing value to people, about solving existing problems in new ways. And my current company, Friendly Data, is a natural outgrowth of my previous experience. I used to be a CTO at admin-based company, and we built database admin systems. And I understood it's a huge opportunity because for non-technical people, it's hard to access internal data. And at Friendly Data, we solve this problem. We help non-technical people get insights from data in a simple way by providing a natural language interface to databases. So basically, you just need to ask a question.
Awesome. So I want to ask you also about the local community. And like my personal first visit to Minsk was in 2015. And I had a pleasure to see what was happening, this Imaguru and the BEL.BIZ. And it was really impressive. And from that point, we started actually cooperating a lot. And approximately 50 people were coming to Slush by buses, and the rest just the history. But probably if you guys can tell me, like, how often are you hanging out in the local startup scene, and what do you think you are bringing there as already existent entrepreneurs?
I think it's really helpful when you're just getting started. So the same as you, I got to Minsk in 2 years before, in 2013, and I just started doing things. I started visiting different events, and the first one was the Garage 48 hackathon organized by Imaguru guys. So that was great because I actually brought a friend of mine from Gomel. I'm originally from Gomel, and I brought a friend of mine here to take part into that hackathon because he was much more experienced developer than I was. And yeah, of course we failed, but that was a really good experience. And I think it's really helpful when you're getting started and you're just exploring ideas and new things. But once you got something, once you have something that you think it's worth working on, I would not recommend to participate in any events like this. Because you need to just like execute and move fast, and that's basically it. That's why most startup events, some of them are good for presenting your idea and if you're selling to somebody. So for example, Slash might be a really good example if you're selling to B2B, if you're doing B2B and if you're selling to enterprises. But like mostly, it's just a waste of time.
Okay. Mikhail.
Yeah, you know, I spent last 2 years in the US, and when I was living in Belarus, it was different. And now I see positive change here, and a lot of young people starting companies. Even if they fail, they will learn something, and probably we just need more success stories like PandaDoc, like MSQRD. Like
Why do you need more success stories?
Because we need more entrepreneurs, and I think...
Why success stories gonna bring you more entrepreneurs?
Yeah, because sometimes young entrepreneurs asking me questions about how to start company, and they tell me, you know, you inspired me, or Vasily Shinkarenko inspired me, and I think such success stories could motivate young entrepreneurs.
I have the opposite point of view. I actually think that it's like teaching a subject or something like that. You cannot teach someone. You can explain them how they can teach themselves. And this is kind of the same thing. You cannot explain how to be an entrepreneur, and mostly those folks who are like following success stories and trying to build something based on those success stories, they're like wannapreneurs, not entrepreneurs.
Cool. So from maybe my point of view also, when we were, you know, Slash is in the Nordics, and now I'm working at the industry hack, we're also still in the Nordics, we're looking for the global expansion. I think here, like these 2 point of views, they totally have all the rights to exist from the perspective of like, some people need a benchmark and some people need inspiration. So everything what happens, as much as it happens, and the more success stories you have, the more international VCs will come here and inspire the rest. So I think, looks to me that Minsk is on the right way, and soon, in 2 years, the next big international event will be here. But since we have already 10 minutes, let's start talking actually about your own companies. And I would like to now you to share, at least tell me 1, 2, or 3, the biggest challenges you guys have as CEOs. What is happening in your company, and you need to improve it in the next like 3 months. So, Vasily, you can go first.
Yeah, I have a pretty fun story to share. So when we got accepted into Boost VC Accelerator last summer, so we moved to the Bay Area, and we moved with a product for restaurants. That was basically a messenger bot that allowed you to pre-order in restaurants and go and basically eat without even paying for that in cash. And we moved there, and in 2 weeks, we figured out that nobody wants that. So the lesson from here is that you need to be able to move fast and quickly change your ideas based on user feedback, because we actually went to like 150 restaurants, and we talked to all of them, and then we figured out what they need, and that wasn't our product. So then we quickly switched the product, and we basically picked up the top idea that was buzzing our heads for quite a long time.
Oh man, I just can't imagine. I'm not an entrepreneur yet, but I'm maybe one day. And Mikael, about you. So you guys work in the field of data. And like these the recent activities happening all around the world, and you guys probably also got those akka spam emails from all the possible services you are using, like that you have to check and accept the new terms and conditions of your Gmail or anything else. So tell us, in the world of like data, what is your like next big step? What are your challenges? How you guys are proceeding?
Yeah, great question. Actually, as for GDPR, for us, it's not a challenge, it's an opportunity because our solution is secure by design and we don't store clients' data on our servers. And because we just store some meta information about the database, and this is one of the biggest advantages we have on the market. So I think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, the most interesting thing about challenges in startups is because those challenges, they change every 2 to 3 months. And that's pretty interesting because you have to be very flexible and you have to adapt to new things. So, for example, 6 months ago, our challenge was how to get to like a first 200, 300, 1,000 users. Right now, our challenge is how to support 10,000 users. And that's a very different kind of problem because we need to hire a support person, we need to scale the development, we need to adopt our processes to be flexible. So that's why our biggest challenge right now is hiring. So we are looking for front-end engineers and back-end engineers in Minsk.
So people are hiring here, anyone is looking for a job, like find them in the crowd?
Yeah, I agree with Vasily. And I think the main advantage of a startup over the established company is the speed and the ability to be ready to challenge that happen on the market. And the speed is the main and the only advantage that startup could leverage.
Cool. And now, actually, about your the reasons probably you're sitting here. One of those is, Mikael, tell me, how was it at 500 startups? Like, are they cool? Should people continue going there? What was your experience? Did it help?
Well, even top-tier accelerators is not a golden ticket because you have to build your company on yourself and no one will do it for you. So you have to assemble a team, you have to raise money, press, sales, you name it. And it's your job as a founder to do so. But I think accelerators could learn new skills because as a founder, your job is to constantly be teaching yourself new skills, and accelerators could help with that because they have a good network, because they have experience in this, and 500 was very helpful to us.
I can actually think of my life before YC and after YC, and those are two different persons. So the before guy is kind of like knows nothing, like Jon Snow, and the after YC guy knows at least something. I think the biggest thing out of YC is network of people and people themselves that are participating in the program, partners. So YC is structured in a way that we have like 10 groups. Each group is of like 10 to 15 companies, and each group has 3 group partners. So our group partners were Michael Seibel, who's the CEO of YC and the founder of Twitch, which sold to Amazon for about $1 billion. Another guy was the former director of growth at Airbnb. And the third guy was Paul Buchheit. This is the guy who invented Gmail. So when you sit around people like this, you basically like absorb everything. And that's really cool because if you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, then you basically degrade. Like you don't learn new things, right? So you always need to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, and I was trying to do that like all my life.
Super. We are almost there this the time, but maybe as a short summary from this panel, and also this is maybe like my...
We are hiring.
Yeah, personal words. it's hard to build an ecosystem. And the thing is, if you have listened to Peter Westerbacka, don't try to copy-paste the Silicon Valley. You guys actually have a tremendous potential. And the coders and the talent which is coming still from this, this region, people want it and they need it. And best things happen only when people want it. So I would like to maybe leave a small mark that forget about the government, let those guys rule the country, do something. You need still security and safety and the police, countries don't really work without that. But start from your minds. And maybe the guys, if you could quickly summarize, what do you think Belarusian startup scene needs in 2 words?
What's that? What's their unique side?
From your side, what's what does this ecosystem need the most?
Yeah, I think we most need to change the mindset of people because it's fundamental change. Because in Belarus, if you fail, you will be loser for the whole life. In the US, you can try again, and even our investors at 500 Startups tell us it's okay to fail. It's default for startup to fail. And maybe if we will change those mindset to more entrepreneurship friendly, we will have more success stories in Belarus.
Cool. Vasily?
Yeah, I totally agree
Your
with
50
that.
cents.
I think you also need to start from thinking about your own problems and not inventing problems. Most people do, and just make something people want, as YC stands for it.
Cool. I think we're done. This thing is blinking into my eye. So.
Yes, the time is running too fast. Sorry. Take your seats. I think we have a couple questions from the audience. Please send your questions right to chat with the organizers, and I will ask our guests and our speakers, and we will get the answer to your question. And while we are waiting for the questions, I just wanted to ask Vasily, as you could mention, there is some students here. There's actually a lot of students here. And I know that you took part in your first hackathon while you were a student. So maybe just tell something motivated to motivate them to be entrepreneur, or what should they do right now while they are students to become a great entrepreneur, a great startupper, and also go to global market?
So there might be 2 situations for you right now. The first one is you already know what you want to do with your life. And that's about 2 to 3% chance, right? The second one is that you don't really know what you want to do with your life, and you're kind of floating around. And that's the reason why you got into university, of course. And if you don't know what to do with your life, you just need to try a lot of things to figure out what you want to do with your life. And that's why I can recommend attending events like this, just doing different projects, and don't stop. Because the biggest threat for people is when they lose, when they stop wanting something. You always need to think about the bigger goal, the bigger aim for yourself, what you want to achieve.
Yeah, you mentioned that in Belarus we have such problem as we really, really scared of failure. And I think it's the key point what we should change in our mindsets.
I think it's totally fine to fail if you learn from it, but it's unacceptable to fail if you don't learn anything.
Yeah, you shouldn't fear it. So it should not be so scary. And so, Mikhail, we have a question to you. So, do you know about open data projects at Belarus? And if yes, how they collaborated?
So I've heard that in Belarus and in Russia, pretty active open data community, and I'm actually taking part in some discussions at open data Slack channel. And as for our collaboration, we're going to launch a public project soon, which will help people to access public data easily without some specific technical knowledge, and we just trying to choose the best data source. So if you have any ideas, feel free to contact me, and we will be happy to help make public data more accessible.
I think you had one more really interesting question about the ecosystem that most startups voted that they cannot raise outside capital. And I just wanted to share a few tips on how to raise money from Silicon Valley investors. The thing here that you need to think about is that investors invest in lines, not in dots. So when you appear on their radar for the first time, you're like a dot on their system of coordinates, which the axes are success and time. And they don't know like the values of access. And they don't know nothing about you. They don't know anything about you. And you need to build a trend line. So when you meet people for the second time, for the third time, when you send them email updates, they can build like a trend in their head. And when they see the trend is moving up, they will definitely invest in you. So that's why, for example, I send monthly updates to our investors, our current investors, and our investors that we want to have in the next round. So I'm trying to already build that like kind of line in their heads.
So please, someone make a quote on Twitter. So investors don't invest in dots, they invest in lines. It's a very great quote. Thank you, Vasily. And Vasily, so Vasily, question for you. Do you write code or you concentrate on running the company? I think it's from your co-founder.
I used to write code for about 2 years, and I was pretty bad at that. And then I switched to marketing and more like business things. And I haven't wrote a single line of code for about 2.5 years.
All right. Okay, and the last question to both of you guys. How did you find a co-founder, and how many do you have?
I think that's the most important thing. It's actually better to have no co-founder than have a really bad co-founder, because having a co-founder is like having a wife. It's like a lifetime thing, and if you fail at that, if your wife is really bad, then it's going to be like a suffer for your whole miserable life. So just don't try to find people and build relationships with them, and try to find people that inspire you in something. Because if the person does not inspire you in like anything, I don't think it's a good fit.
Yes, Michael?
Yeah, I have 2 co-founders, and hopefully I knew them 4 years before we started Friendly Data. And we previously worked together, so it worked out. And we always wanted to build our own company, own product. So.
Okay, this was all the questions. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much to us, to Mikhail, and to Olga, of course. Make your applause to them. Thank you very much that you shared your experience with us. It was so super cool.